Hello and welcome to the introduction to the on-display stamp set and on-display dies. The stamp set is a little mini, mostly with sentiments that say, I hope you have a very good day. Turn it. It says you are a lovely human. And then thank you for being you. And then I think you're wonderful. And there's also a scripty thanks. And then these little details can be stamped on your books that I'll show you. There's also a kitty cat face. Oh, you're gonna die. Okay, let's talk about the dies. All these dies are things that you would put on a bookshelf. Lots of plants. There's a globe. There's lots of planter holders. Here's the globe, and they kind of layer together. Here's the books. Here's a little scripty hello. And then I die cut everything to show you. So here's the little dies. Here's the kitty cat, die cut out of gray, and then I use the stamp set to stamp the little face. And then the little plant with this funky vase, very cute, kind of a circle vase. And all the little excess pieces that hang down, a lot of the dies have excess hanging down. That's to give you a little part to put adhesive on to adhere to your bookshelf. Here's a larger flower pot. Again, that base is where you would add your adhesive. Here's a plant. There's two dies that kind of layer up this plant and it kind of tucks into the pot. So you have the, what is this, like a climbing, what's the name of the plant? I forget, but it's one of those that just kind of hangs down like a spider. I don't know the name. I should look it up. There's the hello word die. Here's the globe. Die cut the base out of matte gold and then the globe itself out of some Harbor cardstock. Again, extra along the bottom so that you have something to adhere to the bookshelf. A little heart. This is like a little bin or whatever your imagination can think of. I was thinking it was a little bin that you might put on a shelf to hold doodads. Here's a little flower pot stand or holder, and then the extra little bit on the bottom to adhere it. You could also turn this around, make it a different kind of flower pot stand. So you really can use these dies however your imagination can think of it. There's a flower pot that goes in the stand, and then here's the little plant you can tuck in. Of course, you can mix and match the plants. They don't all have to go in the different pots. However you want to do it, you can flip it around. This plant here fits really pretty in this pot, so you can see how they all are sized nicely to go together. Now for the books, you have one die that cuts the books, and then one die that gives you like a base to adhere the books to hold them all together. So I die cut these out of a bunch of different solid color cardstocks. When you adhere them, you have that little bit of extra down on the bottom, again to give you something to adhere that to the bookshelf. Okay, so that's what that extra bit's going to be down along the bottom. And then you have these larger dies, and that's what's going to create your bookshelf. So this one here is what this is going to look like when you die cut it. I die cut that out of eucalyptus cardstock, and I'll show you how to put this together. Now these two dies, this one cuts a square, and this one cuts like windows or the bookshelf. So if you want to put them together, it'll cut the outer and the inner. See, like that. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to put this all together. So I have my panel already die cut. When you run it through the die cutting machine, it also kind of embosses all those score lines. And you're going to be folding on every single score line. It might look a little overwhelming, but it's actually just a bunch of folding. I like to use my Teflon bone folder to just work in those creases or reinforce the creases. It's optional. You don't have to do this. I'm just a little bit psychotic with my Teflon bone folder. I use it. It never leaves my desk. I have to see it at all times. And now these little openings, you're going to fold everything back. So everything gets folded back and then of course reinforced with the bone folder. Be careful when you're folding. You just want to make sure you get it on the line. So you need to take your time. I will say that Concord 9th cardstock is not extremely thick, so it makes something like this a little easier. If you happen to use really thick solid color cardstock, you might have to labor a little bit more. Sometimes it can be harder. Some cardstocks fold better than others. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. Okay, so I'm just working my way here, folding everything, using my bone folder to make sure I have a nice clean fold. And then once those are folded, you got to fold it again. Gets a little dicey. She's a lot of folding, but the lines are there for you. So all the kind of thought work is done. You just have to do the folding. And everything gets folded back. You're basically creating a pop-up bookshelf. And this will fold flat in an envelope. Okay, so you're not going to have any bulk, but you're going to have all the fun. You know what I mean? Okay, so I have everything folded, everything creased. And now I want to show you how easy this is. It does look a little complicated at first. I was like, what? But then when I saw how it came together, sometimes you have to just do one once. Like do your first one once. A little bit of a learning curve. Okay, so flip it over. I'll show you, just kind of putting this all together, show you how the bookshelf kind of takes shape like that. And then you're going to just kind of fold it down. So I'm just kind of prepping this so that it will fold flat in a card. And I'm getting my folds just kind of clean. You just want everything flat like that, like so. And then you flip it over. And now you can add your adhesive of choice. You could use liquid glue. I'm going to use some really thin score tape. You could also use tape runner. You just want to make sure that these flaps kind of go down and then flap over. So you're creating a bit of a box, like a box is what you're doing. And so those flaps go down and then the bottom folds over. Everything's going to get taped together. You just want to continually make sure that this thing folds flat. Okay, so I'm using this ultra thin, what is this, 1/8 inch score tape. I like to use score tape instead of liquid glue because then it's not getting all over. I make a mess with liquid glue and it adheres instantly. You don't have that drying time. So I'm doing little strips for every one of the flaps, like so. Takes a little bit of time, a little bit of prep work, but it's all worth it in the end, okay? And then I'm using my little needle tool to remove the backing. So I'm folding that down, and then these ones, all the little ones that get tucked in, remove your adhesive first, then fold the flap over, like that on the left, fold it over on the right, down along the bottom, removing the backing, fold that flap over. Fold the flap over. Okay, all the backing is removed. I have a white A2 card base, and I'm going to adhere this right to the bottom. I'm lining it up like so on the bottom, carefully making sure that when I'm adhering it, it's flat like that. So that's how it's going to go in your envelope. And now here's where you bring it up. Now you've created your bookshelf. You got to be a little bit careful. You can get a little bit of bending, but that's what the nice die cut frame is for, because see right there, I kind of creased it. That's okay because you can cover it up with this little topper. So I die cut this kind of frame or front of the book shelf, again with eucalyptus cardstock, and I'm adhering it now, but I think if I did this again, I would go ahead and adhere all the things I want to add to my bookshelf before adding this like front cap. But you know, you can do it either way. I'll show you how this works, because you know how a lot of those pieces kind of tuck in? Well, now that I've adhered my front, it can get a little dicey. Okay, so let me show you the little things, like the vase, for example. I'm trying to slide that in, but I've got my adhesive. So it might have been better to adhere the vase and all the things first. You can do it however you want. You know, if you want to do this how I'm doing it, it works. I made it work. I just shoved it down in there. You kind of got to manipulate it. But look at the kitty cat and the vase, and they're up, and you've got the shadows. So here's a couple cards that I've created. The one on the left is a pop-up, but this one here is just a regular card. I did use foam adhesive on my shelf, a gray shelf on a white card base. Stamp the sentiment, I hope you have a very good day. I used a lot of matte gold on that. And here's the pop-up card. So this will fold flat, but I did put the kitty cat on the top. And I do want to note, if you decide to put your kitty cat on the top of the bookshelf, when that folds flat, it's not going to fit in a standard size envelope because the cat head will hang off a little bit. So just remember that. If you want it to fit in an envelope, put your kitty cat down in the shelf. And that is the introduction to the on display stamp set and on display dies.